Hello and welcome to the Illinois Association of Park Districts Parkcast. I'm Wayne Utterback, Director of Communications and Digital Content, and I'm excited today to be joined by the Forest Preserves of Cook County General Superintendent Arnold Randall. Thank you so much for joining us, Arnold.
It's my pleasure.
Now, I always like to start off my interviews with just a quick, give me a rundown of what your Forest Preserve District is about and what makes it unique and stand out.
Sure. The Forest Preserves of Cook County are about a 105-year-old organization, about 70,000 acres of natural lands around, and some of it in the city of Chicago, but mostly in Cook County, obviously. It's the largest forest preserve system of its kind in the country. And our mission really is to protect these natural lands and maintain them in a natural state, connect with a much larger, more diverse public, which we've really been working hard to do. And to create educational, recreational opportunities for those folks too. So it's been a real passion for all the folks who work here to accomplish that mission for sure.
Now, what's visitation been like since the pandemic started?
So like everybody else, we had to sort of pivot quickly. So a lot of our indoor things like our nature centers and some of our in-person things had to stop, at least temporarily. But what we saw was record numbers of visitors out on the trails in our outdoor spaces, particularly this time last year. March, April really saw numbers of visitors off the charts, and we've seen increased numbers throughout the pandemic. Frankly, of people visiting. People didn't have a lot of options, obviously, and so a lot of people sought out nature either for the first time or for the first time in a long time. And we really worked hard to keep our trail system available to people, and our groves and those sort of things available to people throughout. And as restrictions have loosened, we've opened up more things. So we have some of our indoor spaces are open again, and our nature centers have been open for a while, and our camping opened up again last summer. So we're making it work under these circumstances, and people have really appreciated it.
Now, any particular uses that surprised you or stood out to you?
The golf courses have done extremely well, surprisingly. We were prepared for the West. A lot of our revenue generating concessions had to slow down or stop for a period of time, but the golf courses actually had a record year, interestingly enough. People were looking for opportunities, and golfing is something that you can do safely during the pandemic if you follow the rules, and so our golf courses did really well. We were happy that our campgrounds were able to continue, and I think we believed all along that more people would come in this current circumstance with the pandemic, and it bared out to be true that everybody, from myself to our county board president, Tony Preckwinkle, everybody's been out a lot more because, we're limited in so many other things. And we hope that continues, after the pandemic has subsided, and we think it will. I think a lot of people have discovered it and think, wow, this is pretty cool.
What's the community response been just in being able to access some of the things that you offer there?
So I think people have been really appreciative, frankly, because not everything stayed open, in and around Chicago. Things did close down, and even parts of the lakefront, which is, iconic here in Chicago and a wonderful space, but that closed down for a period of time in Chicago, but our trails didn't. And so I think people I've gotten a lot of emails and letters and phone calls really thanking us for working hard to keep those things available to them. They really needed them for their mental and physical well-being.
Now, speaking of your forest preserves, how much open space have you been able to protect at your forest preserve?
So we have a master plan. It's called our Next Century Conservation Plan, and it's got some really lofty goals about protecting and managing 30,000 acres at a really high level for ecological restoration. And we're actively managing about 13,000 acres which means we're removing invasive species. We're doing prescribed burns. We're doing some of those right now, actually. It's since it's been dry enough, and we're actively managing those lands that way. We've got 26 dedicated Illinois nature preserve locations in the forest preserve, which is the largest number outside of the state itself. The state of Illinois has more, but we're the second most in the state. So we worked really hard to protect these lands and make them healthy again. There's just a lot has been done to degrade our lands over the years, and so we've worked hard to sort of reverse that trend. And we're seeing it. We're seeing a lot of animals and plants that we hadn't seen for a lot of years that have returned in the last 10 years.
Now, what are some of the plans for the future of your preserve?
So the Next Century Conservation Plan really talks about building a much broader constituency of folks who want to come out and use the preserves and protect the preserves. So really more programming, more accessible programming. We've ramped up our programs to our nature centers and our special events in a really significant way over the past, I'd say 7 or 8 years. We want to continue to do more of that because we believe strongly in the mission that, people will really benefit from being out in nature and spending time in nature. So we really want to ramp up our programming. We want to continue to purchase land where we can and, expand our holdings around Cook County. As more development happens, it puts more pressure, frankly, on these open spaces. So the more we have to protect, the better off we all are. And I think just looking at expanding things like camping, and we've done some interesting things, like we have a zip line course, for example. So it's really been very popular and has attracted a new audience of folks who probably would not have come otherwise. And we continue to expand our trail system. We've built, in the last 10 years, we've built more than 15% of our trail system is built in the last 10 years. So it's, that's over 350 miles of paved and unpaved trails around Cook County. So we're going to continue to do the things that we do well and figure out ways to get new users in.
All right, now I want to ask you some direct questions.
Sure.
Kind of shift the tone just a little bit. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
The best advice I've ever been given? I get a lot of good advice because I've worked with a lot of really smart people, including my parents. Start with them. I think that if you can conceive of what you want to do and you work really hard, you can make it happen. And I think that's been very true for me personally. And I think we've applied that to the forest preserves. There's a lot of negativity about Cook County Forest Preserves when I took over 10 years ago, and it was well earned. A lot of things that were not being run well, but we had a vision that it could be run much better, and that there's all these wonderful spaces. And so if you can envision it, what it looks like, and you work really hard, and you put your plans together, you can really make it work. And I think both personally and professionally, I think I've really tried to use that as a motto.
Now, similarly, what advice would you give a 21-year-old?
That's a good question. I actually have two of my children. One is 20, my daughter's 20, and I have a 24-year-old son as well. So the advice I give them is get experiences. Look for opportunities, whether they're paid or unpaid. Get out there and experience things and try things to understand what it is you're really passionate about. You may not know that. I didn't know it at 20, what I was really passionate about. Get out there and have those experiences. Volunteer your time. If you can get paid for it, that's better. But if you can't volunteer your time, get out there and understand the things that you think you might be interested in, and really apply yourself and see. And there may be things that you had no idea that you'd be good at or that you're interested in, that you'll find out that way.
All right, now, if you could go back in the history of your forest preserve, who is one person you'd like to talk to and why?
Oh, that's easy. Cap Sauer. So Cap Sauer was the first general superintendent of the forest preserves, and he served for more than 30 years as a superintendent, which is unimaginable to me that you could do this job for 30 years. But just to understand the challenges he had as the first general superintendent, and there's all these sort of pressures on the land. People wanted to, as they do today, everybody has a great idea of what they could do with your land if you gave it to them. How he fended off those things and how he was able to grow. We had our most significant growth was in those first generations of the forest preserve, and I'm sure he had wonderful stories to tell about how he formed coalitions and how he made it grow and protected it over time. So Charles Cap Sauer, that'd be the forest preserve person I'd want to meet and talk to.
All right, excellent. Now, last question for you. What is one thing you'd like for your constituents or users of your forest preserves to know about your district?
It's this incredible place right here. It's no more than 20 minutes away from anybody in Cook County. And it's here for you, and it will change. If you're not connected to nature, it will connect you, and it'll change your perspective. It'll really put you in a very good space, both emotionally, psychologically, physically. And I really encourage people to take some time, take a breath from their busy lives, and enjoy nature, because I think it's worth the effort.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I thank you for taking some time out of your day to talk with me, and continue doing the amazing work that you do there at your forest preserve, because I mean, that's crucial right now. I think it still will be crucial going once we start freeing stuff up and the restrictions start getting lifted. It's going to be more and more important that people still get out there and connect with nature and the amazing world we have just outside of our homes. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me, Arnold.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.